Now that DraftSight is installed and we have opened it for the first time, let's take a look around and get to know the new interface. For previous users of 2D CAD, this may look a little familiar, but it's always worth taking a moment to familiarise ourselves with the new layout. We start in the graphics space. This is where all your drawing work will happen. Currently we have a black background. This is our model space. This is where the main design work happens. At the bottom there are some tabs, and we can see some sheet tabs. These enable us to create a border with a window or viewport back to the model space. We'll look at those in more detail in a later video. Below the graphics area, we can see the command window. This is where we can type in commands. Initially, we see only one line. Now, it's worth expanding this to show 3 to 4 lines. Some commands have options or instructions, and it's useful to see those down here. So as an example, let's draw a circle. So we type in the command, then you can see the options listed there. So you could go and select one of those, or you can continue just to create the object or circle, and it will just accept the default options, like so. Right at the very bottom of the screen, in the status bar, we can see a number of tools to help with drafting. So it could be grid snapping, orthographic projection, polar tracking, things like this. These will be examined in a later video. At the top of the screen, we have our tool ribbon. This is similar to many applications you may have come across, and it groups the commands into various tabs. Home tab contains most of the standard options. Insert if we're looking for blocks. Annotate for a full list of dimensioning and annotating tools, text and so on. Other key ones to look at is perhaps the Manage tab, where we can tailor the system to our own particular requirements, and the View tab for our zooming and navigation tools. You may see other tabs up there, as I have, depending on the level of DraftSight that you have on your own system. At the very, very top, we can see the Quick Access toolbar with the normal commands, things like New, Open and Save, and so on. There's also a user interface selection tool, as well as the DraftSight logo. The interface selection tool, what that does is allows you to switch from the ribbon style to a more classic layout, so there you can see it. And if that's what you're more familiar with, feel free to use that style, but I will stick with the annotation style here. Underneath the DraftSight logo, we can see, again, options for New, Open, Save and Save As in there too. The last area to look at are the task panes over on the right-hand side. So we have some different tabs here. The Home tab will let you know the latest service pack that is available, as well as links to the support community. I have a Properties tab in there as well. And you may find other tabs appear there depending on different add-ins or functions that you have enabled. If you don't have the Properties tab up there, you just right-click and you can just select it from that list. So now that we've introduced the interface, let's maybe look at a way in which perhaps we could change it, or we could drag panels over to the opposite side of the screen if you feel the monitor would benefit from that. Okay, I'll just drag it back there. You can reorder the tabs if you wish as well. But that's not the only change that we could make. There's some other things that we could do in here. So if we want to modify the interface in any way, we need to start off by going to the Manage tab, because I might want to add a command up here. Okay, because it's quite often people like to have Save As, maybe more accessible than underneath that logo. Okay, so we go to Manage, then we click on Interface. This will open up the panel, and then we can choose the area of the interface that we want to modify. Make sure you have selected interface on the left-hand side there. So I'll expand the quick access list there, and you can see there are a few options that are hidden under a drop-down arrow at the end, but we don't have Save As. Okay, so we want to add that in, so we'll open up this Command Explorer, and it's got a complete list of commands, but if you just start typing in a command, it will give us the option we want. So then finally just drag and drop that across to check that it's gone through okay. We can just hit apply. So now I can see the extra icon in the quick access toolbar there, and so I could now hit OK to close that dialog box. It's a similar approach if you're trying to modify sections of the ribbon or other toolbars as well. We can also change other options within the interface. One of the popular ones is to have the cursor show as a crosshair. So normally when we're creating new geometry, like for example the circle, we can see that the cursor is now a crosshair. And many users like to have that persistently on screen. So let's see how we can do that to our system. So again, we're on the Manage tab. What we need to do is go to Options this time. In there's a number of different sections that we could look to with subsections, and it can be quite hard to find the particular option we require. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Find box down at the bottom. So we'll go down there, and I can type in cross. And then I can see the option that I'm looking for, so display cursor as crosshair. So I can go and select that. It's now highlighting the tick box, so I can just go and select it. And I could also adjust the size of that tick, the crosshair. So one option I quite like is to set that to 100. So it's going to be the full width of the interface. So now when I hit OK, you can see we've got this full crosshair going all the way across the screen. Some people like it. It might not be your preference, so just see which options you prefer. The last thing that we're going to introduce here, which may be a bit newer to some users, is a thing called mouse gestures. These are available by using the right mouse button. So what you have to do is actually drag with the right mouse button, not just right click. So it's a click and drag. And so if we do that, what it's going to do is highlight a wheel of commands. It could be 4 commands or it can be 8. And generally they're going to be commands that you use almost all the time. So you almost don't think about them, I think, as a sort of... So we can go and select whichever option we like. So if we want to modify that in some way, well, you just have to go up to the top, click on mouse gestures. And so over here we can choose, do you want 8 or 4? Or there's even a tick box there to turn them off if you find them distracting, which is absolutely fine. And so to modify those commands, we just need to search for the command we want to use. Let's just list the ones that we already have. So maybe there's one of those that we feel doesn't need to be there. So clear that list and we type in a new command. So let's say I was going to do something with save as, and so there I could maybe choose an option. Okay, I'm not actually going to change it in this instance, but there is an option there also to print that list off for reference if you are going to make use of it. So this concludes this video. Next video will introduce how you can navigate around your drawings and also explain the use of layers in drawings as well.